welcome to actually our final session of Project Pantry today. And again, we're going to have two fantastic recipes prepared for us by our dietitian, Andrea Powell. So I'm going to let Andrea take over now, and yeah, let's get started.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to today's 30-minute session on Project Pantry, the final session. So hopefully some of you have had the opportunity to attend some of the previous sessions and have gained some additional recipes to add to your cooking. My name's Andrea Powell, and I'm here on behalf of Nutrition Australia in my home kitchen on the Northern Beaches. So it's a pleasure to be able to bring to you this education and cooking demonstration on behalf of Nutrition Australia. And you're probably well aware they aim to educate, improve the lives and eating of Australians by bringing community-based programs like we're doing today. So they're a non-government, non-profit organisation, and as well as cooking demonstrations, they have nutrition consultations, displays and a variety of things. So I can encourage you to get onto their website, a lot of fantastic information there as well. I'm going to start off with a question. So in your little chat books, at the start of the session, I want you to maybe rate how confident are you in putting together something that's quick, easy, healthy, and relatively affordable from your pantry. So I want to see if that changes over the next 30 minutes. So just in your little chat books, just so I can get an indication of how confident. We've got a 4.5, so yeah. Anyone else care to put in a number? Okay, well, today what we're going to do is we're going to 3.5. Yep, thank you. So again, think about that number and then think about how that might change as we move along. So when we look at good eating, we want to aim to get a variety of foods from different food groups to make sure that we're providing our bodies with the best possible care. So what these recipes are demonstrating to do is just that: provide some protein, provide some calcium, provide some carbohydrate, provide some fruit, provide some vegetables. So different food groups have got different benefits. So without going into too much of that, we're going to start off with a quick and easy salad, which it can be used as an adjunct to a dinner dish or a barbecue, but it's also very healthy and nutritious to use in the meal itself. And we'll explain why. So I'm not sure if they've got recipes, access to the recipes yet, Laura, or we're going to start off with the beetroot, lentil and feta salad.
Yep, so the two recipes are in the chat box, so you should just be able to click on that PDF. Otherwise, they've also been emailed as well.
Fantastic. Okay, so beetroot salad. What I've started off here with is just a can of legumes. So canned legumes are fine. I always like to, when I drain them, give them a rinse. So some of them are canned in no added salt, others have got a little bit of salt. But cooked, prepared legumes, when we talk about legumes, what we're talking about is you've got your beans, chickpeas, lentils. So they're a really good protein food, they're a really good carbohydrate food, but they're also a really good food that is high in fibre. And what we do know is that we're not getting enough fibre in the diet, and that helps to keep us regular, keep things functioning well. So all about our bowel function. So they're a really versatile ingredient, but the other good thing is they're low in fat, they're satisfying, and they're really cheap. Like I think a can of the legumes I bought cost about $1. So they're a really great meat substitute, gluten-free and good for people who may be even vegetarian. Or just, have we heard about meat-free Mondays, having a meat or chicken-free meal and replacing it with your legume. What I've also got in there is just some chopped up spring onions, so all ready to go. The next ingredients we're going to add, and a lot of this can be pre-prepared. I haven't spent too much time, but I've drained and rinsed my legumes. I've chopped up the spring onions, and what I've got now is a can of baby beetroot. So again, I've got them draining here. I'm lucky to have one of these drainers here. They're relatively a decent sized beetroot, so I'm going to chop some of these up. They do come in all sorts of sizes. So depending on the size, and there seems to be a little bit of a variety here in what I'm getting out, we can chop them into wedges. I've actually put a glove on because who else likes to keep that red away from their hand. So I'm just going to wedge them. I'll show you once I've got them added. This one's a little smaller, so I'll cut them into half. And these are going to be added to the lentils and spring onions. Now, beetroot is another versatile ingredient, a versatile vegetable. It's, again, very low in fat, very low in energy, and it contains something called nitrates. So that's known to help lower blood pressure and is good for us. So they're a very nutrient-dense food. But again, these have come out of a can. They can be bought in a jar, or else if you've got a little bit more time, you can prepare them yourself. But the purpose is today to look at quick and easy, versatile. So once again, they've come out of a can, and I'm going to add, I've done them about that size. You can make them smaller if you want. If it's an adjunct to a salad, you want to make them smaller. So I put those on. It can be used in salads. There's great recipes for beetroot dips. But again, coming into summer and more barbecues, more salads, you might find that this is a really nice one you'd like to try. After that, what I'm going to do is chop up some feta. So I've just got a piece of Greek-style low-fat. They did say it's a crumbly feta. So once again, when we look at the cheese, what we're looking at here is getting into that dairy group. And the dairy group is going to add that calcium to our diet. So once again, very important for bone growth. Feta, very flavoursome as well, very versatile, and again, something that can be quick and easy. I'm going to crumble that into my salad. So you can chop it up as small or large as you want, smaller cubes, larger cubes, crumble that in. Really nice to come. Sorry?
Sorry, Andrew, we've just had a question that's come through. So with the beetroot, would it be possible to use beetroot in the packets with vinegar? So I suppose pickled beetroot.
Yes, you can. You're just going to get that flavour come through into your salad. So when we come to the dressing, you'll see that it's a very simple dressing with good quality olive oil and red wine vinegar. So yes, we're actually adding vinegar to it and some pepper. So you'll just get that nice flavour through there. So by all means, that would be a great alternative. Any other questions? So that feta's going in there. So the other thing about the feta is it's a good source of protein. So protein foods, we've got in here our lentils and our feta. It's really important that we eat to our protein requirements, because what we find is protein is satiating, i.e. it makes us feel full for longer. So it helps avoid that hunger or that want between meals to snack, graze, and reach for sometimes less appropriate choices. So we've got a really good array of protein in this coming from our legumes, also added to by our feta. So that's going in there. The last thing I'm going to do is add our rocket. So once again, this is a 50-gram pack. They do say washed and ready to use. I tend to be one of these who does like to actually wash it again, so hence I've had it draining in my colander. So I'm just going to add that rocket. Green foods are great, very low in energy, very filling. I think in that whole packet of rocket, you might be getting about 25 calories. A lot of eating for little amount of calories, energy. So very great for weight control. What we do know is the growing incidence of obesity and overweight in the Australian population. So certainly we're eating a lot of the wrong foods, a lot of the foods that are high in fat, high in sugar. We're not eating enough of the nutrient foods. And in particular, we're really not eating enough vegetables. For some reason, what we do find with Australians, they're almost scared of vegetables, in particular children. It's like they don't know what to do with them. So this rocket has come out of one of those pre-washed packets. I mean, in your greengrocers, you can get as much as you need. Packets, in the packets, they're absolutely fine. As I said, I do tend to be a bit finicky and rewash them again. Once they're opened, it's good to use them up within about 24 hours because you do find they tend to deteriorate a little. But very important when time is an issue and that you want to get something on the table or get something for lunch quickly when you're hungry rather than reaching for a takeaway or a higher fat, less nutrient dense option. So other substitute you could use if you didn't have rocket, maybe out there, anyone else can think of another green that I think accompanies beetroot better? Yes, thank you very much. Baby spinach. I could have bought baby spinach and rocket mix as well. So again, high in folate, your green veggies, versatile, easy. I think I've given that enough of a mix. Now coming to the last thing is, without any particular brands, I do like olive oil, extra virgin. So in terms of oil in my cupboard, it's olive oil, and what I've got here is a bit of red wine vinegar. You could use a bit of balsamic if you wanted as well. If you didn't have red wine vinegar, I've got the red wine vinegar, so that's my drizzle on my salad. And then a little bit of seasoning, a bit of black pepper. So I'm going to put that into my dressing. Put a little bit on my salad too. Last thing we do is we just throw it together. If you want to pre-prepare it first, what I do is have things in my fridge ready to go and then dress it at the last minute. So for example, last night I was making my daughter a Caesar salad to go with her chicken breast, and I happened to be out for the evening. But what I did was made double. I didn't dress the Caesar salad. I just did the egg, I did the lettuce, and I've got the other half in there for when she comes home for lunch today. So sometimes if you are short on time, having something pre-prepared and ready to go, all we need to do to a salad today is add a little bit of avocado, add a little bit of the low-fat seasoned dressing that I've made, and she's got a relatively nutritious lunch waiting for her when she gets home from her morning commitment. So think about it ahead of time, like when you've got a little bit more time to prepare when you don't. What I'm going to show you here is, I wish I could share that with you. That's my only regret cooking from my kitchen, is that you don't get to sample and enjoy these flavours. But what I'm going to show you here is a lovely bowl of freshly prepared salad. Unfortunately, I'm out for dinner tonight, but look how quick and easy that was. So what I'd actually like to put back to you now that you've seen, and we'll have a little break for some questions. Now you've seen the demonstration of that salad, has that affected your confidence with putting something together with possibly pantry staples? And you can interchange your dressings. I think if I didn't have the red wine vinegar in my pantry, I may have used a white balsamic, or even just a little bit of balsamic. With the olive oil, most people do have olive oil in their cupboard. So could you add, could I add walnuts? Perfect. I would recommend adding walnuts, because I must say what some of my favourite flavours together is like a walnut, beetroot, feta, or even a baby spinach, pumpkin, walnut. So walnuts are high in protein. They're high in your good types of fats, the types of fats that we're encouraging people to eat more of, because they help to lower blood cholesterol. So heart disease is one of the main killers in Australia, so certainly doing what we can to try and reduce our risk. So good fats are fine, and they come from nuts, seeds, grains, oily fish, avocados. So certainly, yes, walnuts, go for it. Any other questions? Sultanas. You can add sultanas. The thing with sultanas is they're adding fibre and coming from the fruit. You've got to remember, with dried fruits, it's concentrated fruit sugars. So it will give a little sweetness, and but it will also help increase our fibre intake and help us get our fruit intake requirements as well. So fresh is actually best with fruit, because we've got the fibre. As we go through the process, and bring it down to dry juice. We tend to concentrate the fruit sugars, but certainly there's no reason why it's not nutritious to add a few sultanas into your salad. Cranberries, fresh green apple, absolutely. So fresh grated apple goes well. There's a lot of salads out there that incorporate fruit. Any other questions? So confidence, those numbers I saw in the chat box, have I influenced your decision as to your confidence? Have you felt a little bit more confident with putting together a quick salad? Okay, so we've got no more questions on the salad. That brings us to about halfway through our demonstration. So I'm going to change your focus now to a quick and easy breakfast alternative or even a lunch alternative. Or who's got school-aged children out there? Anyone got school-aged children that come home and they're particularly starving and it's like, how quickly can I put together something for them that's nutritious and is going to fill them up if they're going to afternoon sport? I just want to change this. So our next recipe, it's called a choc banana. I might put this slide on so it makes a difference. It's called a choc banana kickstarter. So it can be used as a breakfast substitute, a lunch substitute, you know, an afternoon snack for your active children or teenagers if they're doing a lot of sport. So what it encompasses is, again, a number of food groups. What we do know is if we have breakfast, we're generally setting ourselves up for a better day, and our breakfast should include a good amount of protein. It should include some calcium foods. It should include some grains, some fruits. So it's a really good opportunity to get a variety of those food groups in there and very easy. So hopefully you'll see with the recipe I'm about to demonstrate, we're going to do just that. I've got a little bit of chopped banana there. The recipe that you'll have serves 4. If I was serving 4, I'd do it in my big blender, but I'm going to do it for 1 in my little NutriBullet. So my single, very quick and easy to use. So I've got my banana chopped in there. Also, people eat breakfast regularly tend to maintain a better weight. So it tends to fill them up so that they don't want to graze. And what we do find is in the morning, it's very common for people who haven't had breakfast to want to reach for a biscuit or a cake or a scone or something for morning tea. So if we set ourselves up for a good breakfast, what we should try and aim to do is let it take us through to lunch because we're not feeling hungry and it is satisfying. So this is what I'm hoping this will do. So we've got the banana chopped in there. So we've got a serve of fruit. What I've also got here is some low-fat milk. So once again, what I would say is a lot of people now are tending towards milk substitutes, which are absolutely fine. You've got people who are wanting soy milk, almond milk, oat milk. What I would suggest you look at is if you are buying them, and I have a number in my pantry as well because I do tend to like my almond milk, is that you look for those that are calcium fortified. People that are getting almond milk are often missing out on calcium if it's not calcium fortified, and some of the more popular brands out there unfortunately don't have the added calcium. There are a number that do, so what you should be looking at is on your nutritional information panel that it says it's got added calcium, or that in the column when you see calcium listed, it's got about 120 milligrams per 100 mils of calcium. Then you know that your milk substitute is not lacking in a missed opportunity to get a serve of calcium. And we generally need about 3 to 4 serves of calcium foods per day. So milk substitute's fine, but it's the calcium we're looking at. Next thing I'm going to add is some natural low-fat yogurt, high in protein. I'm not promoting any brands here, but one of my favourites is just a plain Greek-style Chobani yogurt, because when I look at my ingredients, it's just got skim milk, live culture. It's low in fat and it's also high in protein. And we did talk earlier about that protein helping to satisfy us. So good source of calcium, protein, low in fat. So again, there's Chobani, there's YoPro, there's lots of brands, just plain Greek style, low fat, non-fat yogurt. high protein. I mean, even Aldi's got some great brands. So I'm not encouraging any brands, but there's some of my favourites that I tend to use. So we've got the fruit, we've got the calcium. What we're going to add now is the Choch flavouring. So I've got some good quality cow powder there. Under that, I've measured out my LSA, which is a mixture of seeds. You've got linseed and sunflower seeds, but you've also got almond meal. So LSA, linseed, sunflower seeds, and almond meal. Good source of nuts and seeds. So high antioxidants, high nutrients, high protein, and certainly good types of fats. So those good types of fats, omega-3s, help to reduce cholesterol. What's important is as we help lower blood cholesterol, it reduces its incidence of depositing on our arteries. So once again, the linseeds in the LSA provide the major source of omega-3s. If you don't have LSA available, even a little bit of almond meal or nut meal, even some seeds, they're going to blend up in there. So nuts and seeds, really good, really satisfying, really filling. Next ingredient I'm going to put in here is just some pure rolled oats. So a little bit of rolled oats. If again you don't have oats in your pantry, most people do. Oats tend to be a staple in most people because they can be used in cooking, but also during winter porridge. Great thing about rolled oats is they're high in what we call a soluble fibre. Soluble fibre is something that's known to help bind cholesterol and help it to be excreted. So really good for your cholesterol, good source of fibre, soluble fibre, but also beneficial for heart. Last thing I've got here is some mentioned out honey. So just to give that little bit of sweetness. So I'm going to put my honey into that. A lot of these ingredients, as I mentioned, you would have in there. If you chose wheat bix rather than the oats, what you'd probably substitute per quantity of 4 is probably 3 wheat bix crumbled up into it. So again, wheat bix is another really good cereal. Your wheat flakes, high in fibre, low in salt. They're pretty much the two staples in my pantry is oats, wheat bix, good quality granola blends that contain lots of nuts and seeds. Again, you can make it yourself. So I'm just going to do it in my little whiz here. If you haven't got your ground LSA mix, you'll find that you could throw in some slivered almonds, you could throw in some sunflower seeds, whatever seeds you've got, they're going to grind up. Voila, what we have got is, I'm going to tip a little bit into a glass so I don't spill it everywhere. Let me just grab a little glass over here. What you could do is also use berries. So I'm going to put it in here. As you can see, it's blended up beautifully. Delicious. And because you've got so much nutrition in there, so much protein, calcium, you don't, look at how quickly it is. And a lot of these blenders, I think mine comes with a lid. You don't even have to worry about another glass. You can just put it, the other lid thing on and drink it. But very nutritious, very tasty, full of a lot of good foods with a lot of health benefits. So again, if you don't have time, a lot of people, I hear time and time again in clinical practice, I don't have time for breakfast. I don't have time for breakfast. That didn't take long, maybe even the night before, thinking a little bit ahead. And okay, often what I do is bananas, is I have them chopped up in snap lock bags in my freezer when they're really becoming overripe. I do that with berries as well. So I've got them in those little snap lock bags. You can throw the frozen berries into there. So what did you think of that one? Again, a shame you can't taste it, but you do have access to the recipes. So what I do encourage is to try them out. And if they're not exactly as per the recipe, I'm hoping that what I've managed to present to you is there are alternatives. And I tend to be one of these people who uses a recipe as a base, but then I think about what's in my pantry and make use of what's there, because what is a shame is that there's so much food wastage happening. And I'm going to throw a question out there. Out of your weekly shop, what percentage of food for most people, first of all, I'm going to ask, what do you think the average is for most people of food wastage per week in their shop? And then maybe you think about what you do and how much goes into your bin without being reused. So what do we think? What do we think gets thrown out there, percentage-wise? Are we looking at 5%, 10%? Perfect, 20% for everyone. Spot on for the average. And now think about yours. You don't have to put that in the chat box, but think what happens in your home kitchen. How much, are you along those lines, or are you really good at reusing foods, reusing ingredients? So that's just something to little think about, and hopefully gain some tips, not only through today's recipes, but through recipes that you've seen over the last couple of weeks with Project Pantry. And fantastic veggie patch, perfect. So any other questions or discussions? It is general discussion. I have two, yeah. It's great, these people that have got the compost bins and you know, veggie patches, or the way that you can, you know, reuse. But I'd suggest food is expensive. We've all just come out of spending a lot of time at home, and I know myself, I've got to stop buying as much, because when everyone was in lockdown, I just couldn't keep the household fed, especially with an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old. But now that they're back out and about, buying meals out a little, eating out, I'm thinking I've got to really start reducing what I'm buying. But again, if things are getting towards, I like to also, like if I've got some fresh veggies in the fridge, cauli, broccoli, and I'm thinking, oh, it's not, I want to keep it fresh, I'll put it in snap lock bars. I'll wash it and I'll put it in snap lock bags, because, or I'll even just lightly steam it and then, you know, try and reuse it in some way. Calcium, sorry, yeah, what was the question with calcium?
Yeah, so we have a question from Leslie on calcium absorption. Yes. So Leslie says she did read that the calcium in skim milk is not absorbed as readily as calcium in full fat milk, as calcium needs the fat to absorb easier in the body. Comments, is this, does calcium need fat to absorb?
You know what, I haven't seen that article, and to my best knowledge, I haven't seen that, but you are going to get some fats in the combination. So if you're concerned about what we've made and you're using low-fat milk or yogurt, what you've actually got, those nuts and seeds have got a lot of good fats in them as well. So if it is the fat, you can be assured that you are getting some fats in there, but what you are getting through nuts and seeds is good fats. Again, the recipe, I think, says low-fat milk. So there's still fat in low-fat milk, about 2% per 100 mils, as opposed to 3.6, 3.8 in full cream milk. There is still fat in the low-fat cheese. So even though it is low-fat, say, for example, some of the products, you are getting a certain amount of fat still. Let me have a look. This is more based to skim ones, so the fat is very low in the yogurt I've used, but most of the products we buy that are low fat do have fat. More concerned about substitutes for full fat. Yes, you're right, 0.1. I personally don't use skim milk. I use a low fat milk, purely because other thing that you find is that fat adds flavour, but the other thing is fat adds fullness. So the danger is if we take the fat down too low, a lot of the times manufacturers are adding more sugars. So my personal belief is that I'm not a big fan of the skim or no fat products, because they're often not as satisfying. So I encourage you to look at reducing the fat where possible, but what I would suggest more is it's that saturated, fried fatty foods, battered foods, takeaway foods, processed foods, the bad fats that go into the processing. I'm not as personally concerned about low fat or skim milks because I think the benefits that we get in terms of feeling more satisfied possibly outweigh. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think the Heart Foundation with dairy, it was always low fat, low fat, low fat. I'd say look at more where the bad fats are coming from if you're eating a lot of takeaway foods, but also if you're battering, frying foods, fat on meat, skin on chicken, processed meats. So be mindful and be careful on where you can, but I personally don't go overboard on skim. Is that fair to say, Laura, coming from Nutrition Australia too, that it's more, you know, we do get some benefits from that, and it's more a matter of looking at other sources?
Yeah, definitely. It's looking at your diet as a whole, and
including including good fats in your diet. So look at the fats coming from nuts and seeds and try and cut back on the bad or saturated fats. Being mindful about dairy, that a little bit's okay, but you know, most of us aren't drinking enough milk. We're not drinking a litre of, you know, milk. So if it's only, a lot of people say, oh, look, I don't like a skinny cappuccino, I like a full cream, but then you think about the small amount of milk that goes in there, if that's your only cappuccino for the day. So, you know, it's a matter of, if that's going to make it more enjoyable, you're going to feel more satisfied with it, a little bit you're going to get there. If you look at the basis of your diet being wholesome, fresh, lots of veggies, a couple of serves of fruit, grains, nuts, seeds. So enrich it with really good nutritious foods, lean meats, fish, tuna. So any other questions? I think that's getting towards the end of our time, but if there's any other questions I can assist with. Well, I hope you've got something out of today, and I'm going to enjoy a really nutritious lunch, and I'm going to put that in the fridge and see how it stays for when my 18-year-old son comes home from his last day of year 12. So we'll see what he thinks. But thank you so much for joining me. Andrew is my name. Please, by all means, general information today only. If you do have any personal concerns, always contact Nutrition Australia or seek to get personal advice from an accredited practicing dietitian. But thank you once again for having me on board today. Enjoy the beautiful sunshine.